It's Chelsea, and today I wanted to show you how I transformed this picture from a boring studio photo. I mean, it's still a really beautiful picture, but we're just going to transform it into something way, way better and more larger than life. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, as always, you guys, we use presets. I have these presets available on my website, chelseafern.com. They're called the Cherosi presets. I have them in a pack, but I also sell them individually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down my set of presets and try to find which preset um, is drawing my attention for this picture. So I like this one a lot, Andriana. We're going to keep that in mind and come back to it. I also like this one a lot too, just because it's different. This is a non. I kind of like that one. Cherosi. I like this Cherosi one just because it just gives such a pop to not only the foreground but also to the background, so we might come back to that. I'm going for something heavy contrast here today, so I like this a lot. I like the Gabby. I like this Para, but it's a little too much. I like this Naomi, but and then this one is just over the top. So I think I'm gonna go with either with Gabby or with Andriana. What do you? Actually, before we do that, let's try let's try the Cherosi first. So the difference between the Cherosi and these ones is that these have a little more of a green tint to them. And the only reason why they have that is because the tint is a little bit more to the green side over here. And so I actually like the green tint that those other pictures have. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this tint back to the greens a little bit. So let's see what we have before, after. Okay, and then I'm also going to go here to the tone curve. And I'm going to mess around with the greens a little bit because I really want some greens. That's my bad. Undo, edit, undo, edit. Okay, cool. Now, let's see if we want to add a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Let's de-yellow the background here by bringing this up a little bit because the background was too yellow. We don't want it to look yellow. Okay, now after we've done that, let's go ahead and bring up the exposure. And then let's bring up the black's already on 100. I think we need to take down the clarity a little bit because as you guys can tell, like her blacks are a little too black. And when that happens, it's because the clarity is probably too clear. And it could also mean that the blacks might be down or the shadows might be down. So I just brought the shadows back up. I can't do anything else with the blacks because they're already as up high as possible. Actually, let me bring the shadows down a little bit more because, like I said, I want drama. So I don't mind the extra contrast that's taking place. All right, so this is what I have so far. I'm going to go ahead and take down the saturation. Okay, cool. So, let's look / we're clicking / before, after, before, after. Okay, cool. So I'm happy with what we have so far. It's definitely transformed to my liking. Now I'm going to go ahead and option click the picture. I'm going to go to edit in, and then I'm going to edit in Adobe Photoshop. So this preset that we used was the Cherosi preset. By itself on my website it's like $10, but if you want to buy the preset pack, it's like $50. All right, so now that we've exported this photo to Photoshop, we're gonna go ahead and this is like, what's going on? Photoshop. Ay, Dios mío, qué lo que. Okay. Alright, you guys, so now that we're in Photoshop, we're just going to enhance this picture even more because we don't just stop in Lightroom, right? So now we're going to go to filter, we're going to, we're going to go to layer, we're going to go to new adjustment layer, and we're going to go to selective color. We're going to click OK, and once we're here, I want to play with the blacks a little bit. And what I mean by that is I want to add different colors to the black, to the shadows within the picture. And it makes a big difference because look, if I take it all the way to the left, you get that. If I take it all the way to the right, you get that. So this is, if you ever see like film pictures or whatever, these are the kinds of things that can transform a picture from, you know, I mean, from these are the kind of edits that can transform a picture. So if you want a picture, if you want your picture to have a certain look, you always want to mess with the shadows and the highlights, like the coloring of the shadows or the coloring of the highlights. I'm kind of leaning towards Bluey and McDewey over here. Let's put like -3 on that. Let's put -1 on this. Yeah, I'm digging this. Let's see if I want to add some blue to it too. Maybe I do -1. -1. Okay. I do -1. Okay, so let's see what it looks like before and after. So you see, just added like a green tint to the picture, which, I mean, I could go either way. I'm just trying to do something different today. I'm just trying to see what looks the best. But I mean, honestly, even if I would have took it on a more red side or a more yellow side, I would have still ended up liking my results. Now let's go to whites. We're going to try to give this like a more yellowish tone to the background here, because if with green, yeah, yellowish tone to the background always adds like a vintage feel, a vintage look or whatever. So we're gonna go ahead and put this. Now when I'm messing with the whites, I like to make my actual background white so that I can see the difference that it's actually making in the picture. Okay, so yeah, it's not a bad difference at all. Let's see before, after. Let's see without the yellows, without the whites turning yellow. Now let's put the whites on yellow a little bit. Yeah, I like this. A mí me gusta. Claro que sí que me gusta. Okay, cool. Alright, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and click back to default because I like to work in a dark background so I'm not too distracted with the light in my eyes from the white background. I'm going to go down here where it says blacks. We're back to blacks right here on the selective color layer. I'm going to bring up my blacks a little bit to add more to that vintage look. I'm going to bring up my blacks a little bit, and it just separates the picture from me a little bit more. So it just gives a thin layer of like haze to the picture, which makes the picture feel separate from you. So if I go all the way up, look, this is what it does. This is what it would do on a large scale. But we're not doing large scale today, you guys. We're only doing, low scale. So I'm just going to bring this up to like -4. -4. -4. All right, cool. I don't know why I kept clicking on -4 and it was not clicking. Okay, cool. Now, so this particular model on this particular day, she was complaining about her face because she had just gotten her tooth removed or whatever. She was telling me that her face looked puffier than usual. Now, if I was going to fix that, which I'm not, because to me, she still looks amazing. If I was going to fix that for, future reference for anyone that would want to know how to fix that, you would just, if you want to fix someone's face, make their nose smaller, you go to, layer, my bad, you go to filter, and then you go to liquify. I already clicked on it though. So I'm talking a little bit afterwards. Okay, so if you want to edit the face, you go on this little button down here. You click that, and then say you want to make her nose smaller, you do that. Say you want to make her lips bigger, you do that. Say you want to make her jaw a little tighter, you do that. blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're not going to do that though. So let's go ahead and hit cancel. We're trying to make her, keep her looking natural or whatever. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add some skin retouching to this picture. And the way I do that is I'm going to go to actions. Actually, let me not use an action. Let me just show you guys how I do this from start to finish. First of all, I'm going to create a group right here, right? Then I'm going to click on this background. After I click on the background, I'm going to click Command J 2 times. I'm going to go on the first copy that I made. So when I click Command J 2 times, it makes 2 copies of the background. I'm going to go on the first copy. I'm going to name this copy Color, because this is going to control the color. I'm going to name the second copy Texture, because that's going to control the texture within the picture. So I'm going to take the color, click on color. I'm going to click on the color. I'm going to put it in the group. I'm going to click on the texture. I'm going to put that in the group also. I'm going to click on the little eye that's on texture. That will take off the opacity from the texture, which means the texture is not going to be affected by what we do to the color. I'm going to go ahead and click on color, and then I'm going to go to filter. I'm going to go to blur. I'm going to go to Gaussian blur. Well, I clicked on color, right? I'm going to click OK. Make sure the radius is on 5.0, by the way. I forgot to say that. I'm going to click back on texture. I'm going to put the eye back on. Okay, and then after I've done that, I'm going to go to image. I'm going to go to apply image. I'm going to put color right here. I'm going to make sure this says subtract. Make sure this says 100% opacity. Make sure the scale says 2. The offset is 1.128. Gonna click OK, and then I'm going to go right here while still clicked on the texture layer. I'm gonna go here where it says normal. I'm gonna click on that and until I get to linear light. Okay, so after I've done all this, if I click the group on and off, the picture should look exactly the same. So what I've just done, if I in case you don't know, is something called frequency separation. We're preparing for frequency separation. This is a skin editing technique. So I'm going to click the eye off of texture. I'm going to click on color. And what I'm going to use to edit this picture is this mixer brush tool. So what you might see when you first click on here might just be this brush tool. You're going to click on that a few times until you get to the mixer brush tool. And you just want to make sure your settings are the same as mine at the top here. All right, cool. And now we're going to find a brush that's big enough for whatever we're going to start editing first. I like to start off with the legs and the arms and work my way up to the face. But it doesn't matter what order you do it in. It just matters that you do it the right way. You never want to have a brush that's too big for your surface, but you never want to have a brush that's too small either. A brush that's too big will blend everything in together, and it'll just make things look unnatural. So with this mixer brush tool, you want to make sure you're doing small but like sufficient blends on the skin. And what we're basically doing is we're mixing the skin together to give it an even skin tone. So think, shading. Think if you're an artist and you are shading, you want to blend in the colors, right? Because if the colors are all over the place, then it's what gives that it's a natural look or whatever, but it's what gives that not even skin tone, that not great look in picture. But like if you blend everything in, then it's more likely to have that like smooth look, which pictures love. I mean, obviously in reality, no one's skin is like perfectly blended. We all have tiny discolorations on our skin. As you guys can see with this model zoomed in, she has tiny discolorations, which is perfectly normal, totally human. But for us to have that like perfect magazine skin, this is what you do. You want to make sure that you get rid of all that normalcy of normal skin. I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but it's true. You want to make sure you get rid of the natural discolorations. Just blend in all the discolorations, and like that you'll have that super smooth. Adios me. It looks like I've just run out of storage. while doing this tutorial. Let's just delete some things really quick here. Guys, I'm sorry for being ghetto and running out of storage while I'm filming for you. Okay, let's delete this. Delete. Delete. Okay, what else do we want to delete here? Okay, there we go. So if you ever run out of storage in the middle of editing, at least now you know. You just have to go and delete things that um, are unnecessary on your computer. As a photographer, I always have a million photo shoots in here. So I'm bound to run out of storage. Even if I had like a million gigabytes of storage, I would still end up running out of storage. Because unless you delete things that you're constantly taking pictures, unless you're constantly deleting pictures too, you're gonna run out of storage. So I keep adjusting my brush because depending, like I said, on the surface that I'm editing, I don't want my brush to be too big, nor do I want it to be too small. Too big, you blend everything together and it looks crazy. Too small, you don't, it's gonna take you forever, and it's gonna make little tiny weird strokes on the skin that you can, notice from afar. So you already know. Another thing is like it's really important to, as far as like storage goes, it's really important for a person to keep refreshing their computer like every day or 2 days or whatever, if you keep using it. Because another thing that uses storage is just the computer running a lot of background tasks or whatever. And that's one thing that I always forget to do. I always forget to refresh my computer, which you just can't do. If you're working in Photoshop or in a lot of big programs like I am, you definitely want to keep refreshing your computer. All right, guys, so we're just blending everything in. It's a little bit of a process, but luckily, unlike a lot of other techniques that I've seen a lot of photographers using, this is a very quick, I mean, we'll be done with this in like 5-10 minutes or whatever. Most photographers take way longer than that with their skin editing techniques. So what I'm teaching you guys, from what I used to do, is so much easier. It looks so much better and takes so much less time. Oh my gosh. When I first started frequency separation, most people teach you to use the healing tool brush, which first of all, it's still not going to look very natural. And it's still not going to give you that smooth skin look. And second of all, it's going to take you forever because you're clearing blemish by blemish, little by little. Yeah, we're not into that. We are going to end up using that tool brush, but only to get rid of like anything texture-wise, because right now what we're doing is we're just blending in the color, which is why I named that color. I named that layer color, But once we start trying to get rid of the texture, that's when we'll actually use that healing tool brush. So let's just, now that we're on the face, let me make my brush a little bit tiny smaller. Now the face is really important. You have to watch out what you do with the face here, because if you go in too hard with it, it's going to look crazy. Point blank period. It's going to look insane. But if you sorry you guys, I got distracted here. But if you use little tiny brush strokes and you make sure you don't mess with the lines, with the natural lines and the natural shadows, the natural highlights of the face, then you'll be okay. So you have to be really careful that while you're blending in, you don't want to blend in anything that makes the face what the face is. So if I was going to blend in right here, I'm not going to blend the shadows into the highlights, nor am I going to blend the highlights into the shadows. I'm just going to blend the shadows lightly and slowly by themselves, and then I'm going to blend the highlights lightly and slowly by themselves. Because if I try to blend everything too much together like that, then she's going to look very unnatural. She's going to look like a blob. Yeah, so you just want to make sure you don't make the eyebrows touch the skin. You don't make the nose touch the, I don't know, it kind of becomes common sense after you've been doing it for a while. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm sure you guys understand exactly what I'm trying to say. Okay, cool. So now that we've done that, let's click back on the opacity on texture to see what we have so far. So the skin's blended, the coloring. Oh, let me show you guys what it looks like so far. This is what we did with the color. Before, after, before, after. So we just blended in the colors to just give her a more natural look. It's easier to tell when you zoom out and you can see the whole body. Okay, so before, after, before, after. All right. So you guys can see the difference. I didn't get a chance to get close in on her chest here. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller because it looks weird here. There's some kind of a separation taking place. Oh, my bad. Sorry. Let's go to history. Let's go back. Let's click on that. So anytime you're editing color and you're using that mixer brush tool, you always want to make sure it's on color. Always want to make sure you use the mixer brush tool on color. Because if you try to use it, by accident on the texture like I just did, then it's going to just blur it out, which is what just happened just now. Yeah, so you have to be careful in places where there's like lines like the breasts here, where skin meets clothing, because if you don't give it enough attention and you don't really go in there, then you can just have weird lines. So yeah, it's really important to make sure you take care of that. Now let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's click on texture. Let's click on this healing tool brush. Put this brush down a little bit. Bring it up a little bit more. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to option click on a piece of skin that's good, and then I'm going to click away the bad skin. Option click, piece of skin that's good, click away the bad skin. Option click. Click away the bad skin, option click, take away the bad skin, option click, take away the bad skin, option click, take away the bad skin. Okay. Option, take away bad skin, take away bad skin. Anyway, you guys get what I'm saying. I don't know why I'm being silly. Okay, yeah, so I'm just, with this option click, I'm literally just clearing out the blemishes, like the little piece, the little texture, the little pimples that the coloring otherwise would not take off. Because even if you remove the coloring of something, the texture is still going to be there. That's why we have two layers to work with here. One being the color and the other one being the texture. All right, you guys, I could go on forever, removing all of this girl's little tiny bumps, which we all have, but we're not gonna do that. We're just going to go ahead and call it a day on this, because it's good to have some natural little bumps here and there, you know what I mean? One thing that I did want to do, I feel like I want to raise my what's it called? I want to raise my exposure a little bit, because I feel like I might be a little too dark here. Exposure. Okay, and then I think I might also want to desaturate just a tiny bit. And I'm going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, and I'm going to click on black and white. I'm going to click the opacity down to like 4%. Let's see the before, after. Not a big difference, but certainly something. Before and after exposure. Perfect. And then selective color. I think the greens might be greening a little too hard in here, so let's take down the opacity on that just a tiny bit. And then let's still bring the blacks up a little bit. Okay, now if I put all of this in a group, it starts right here with the selective color. If I put all of this in a group, and I take the opacity off of the group before, after, before, after, so that the preset was a great, it was a great leader. It was a great start. But when you add the Photoshop edits, it definitely transforms the pictures just that more, like just a tiny bit more. So besides the blemishes on her skin that we already fixed, I can see some blemishes on the background. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix that because you always want to have like a nice looking background, you know? So firstly, I'm going to click on color and I'm going to try to color things out. Here, let me make my brush a little tiny bit bigger here. And anything that can be colored out that has too much texture, we're going to come back and take it out with the healing tool brush. A lot of the editing can really be avoided by just having a clean background to work with in the first place, which it was clean on this day. I always repainted my background before I took a picture or before I did a photo shoot, but you know, sometimes you miss certain things like these small blemishes, which is not really a big deal. It can really save you a lot of time in post-process, and it can make your pictures look a lot better if everything's prepared beforehand. Alright, so I'm going to option click with the healing tool brush. I already made my brush smaller, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that, the texture of that after I click the texture button here. Alright, you guys, so this is what we have. This is the after. What do you guys think? Did I transform it, you know, like in a nice way? I'd love to hear your opinions. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.